Artificial trans fats, the FDA, has spent years trying to ban inflammatory seed oils linked to chronic disease and sodium levels high enough to sabotage your prescriptions, all hiding in some of America's most trusted tortilla chip brands. But tear open the wrong bag, and what you're really eating is hydrogenated oils that clog your arteries, refined corn drenched in cheap processing chemicals, and hidden sodium disguised as a simple snack. If this has been your go-to chip for 10 or 20 years, everything we found has been building up inside you that entire time. Today, we're breaking down 11 tortilla chip brands that failed on ingredients, transparency, and safety, including 2 that most people consider clean alternatives, plus the 2 brands that actually deliver what their labels promise. Coming in at number 11, Mission Tortilla Chips. The familiar red and white bag, the brand that sits on nearly every grocery shelf in America. Mission has been marketing itself as the authentic, everyday tortilla chip for decades. Families grab it without thinking. It feels safe. It feels simple. It feels like exactly what a tortilla chip should be. Then you flip the bag over and read the fine print. Mission's ingredient list includes TBHQ, tertiary butyl hydroquinone, a synthetic preservative derived from butane. Yes, butane. The same chemical family as lighter fluid is being used to extend shelf life in a product millions of Americans eat without question. The FDA allows TBHQ in small amounts individually, but Mission doesn't stop there. The sodium per serving is aggressive, and the chips are processed with inflammatory seed oils that drive up omega-6 levels in your bloodstream. For anyone taking statins or blood pressure medication daily, or families snacking through a whole bag on game night, those seed oils can interfere with how your body absorbs the very drugs keeping you stable. The combination of excess sodium and processed fats isn't just unhealthy, it's working against your prescriptions in real time. Pick up a Mission chip. Feel how greasy it is between your fingers. That slick residue isn't seasoning. It's cheap oil doing exactly what cheap oil does, coating your food and coating your arteries. Mission charges you for trust and delivers you a chemistry experiment. Authentic on the outside, industrial on the inside. That's the brand most people grab without thinking. The next one is the brand most people grab at parties. At number 10, Tostitos Original Restaurant Style. The official chip of every Super Bowl spread, every family gathering, every backyard cookout in America. Frito-Lay positioned Tostitos as the wholesome party staple. The chip everyone loves. The chip nobody questions. That's the problem. Nobody questions it. Tostitos relies on refined corn that is almost certainly derived from genetically modified crops. The corn itself is processed with vegetable oils loaded with omega-6 fatty acids. Those fatty acids don't just pass through your system. They trigger systemic inflammation, the kind that makes arthritis flare, joints swell, and blood sugar spike after a single sitting. A 2021 nutritional analysis showed that the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in Tostitos is dramatically skewed. The American diet already runs at roughly 15 to 1 omega-6 to omega-3. The ideal ratio is closer to 2 to 1. Every handful of Tostitos pushes that ratio further into dangerous territory. For anyone managing type 2 diabetes or families with a history of heart disease, chronic inflammation from regular consumption doesn't just make you feel bad. It accelerates disease progression. It raises fasting blood sugar. It thickens arterial walls. And it does it slowly enough that you never connect the chips on the counter to the numbers on your blood work. Crack a Tostitos chip in half. Listen to that snap. That satisfying crunch is refined starch shattering. Nothing more. No nutrients. No fiber. Just empty carbohydrates fried in inflammatory oil and salted to make you reach for another. The life of the party. The death of your arteries. Budget brands cut corners on ingredients, but surely a brand sold in bulk at rock-bottom prices is at least honest about what it is. Think again. Number 9. Santitas Tortilla Chips. The giant yellow bag. The one that costs almost nothing and feeds an entire household. Santitas appeals to budget-conscious families by offering massive volume at a price that feels like a steal. Simple packaging, no fancy claims, no health promises, just chips. Except the trade-off for that bargain price is a heavy reliance on the cheapest refined corn available, processed in the cheapest vegetable oil available, with sodium levels that pile up dangerously fast given the oversized portions people actually eat. Nobody eats one serving of Santitas. The bag is designed for sharing, for scooping, for sitting on the counter during a movie. A realistic sitting is 3 to 4 servings. That's well over 600 milligrams of sodium before you even add salsa or queso to the equation. For anyone with early-stage kidney disease or hypertension, or families feeding these to kids who already consume too much sodium from processed school lunches, that salt load causes fluid retention, elevates blood pressure, and puts real stress on kidneys that are already struggling to keep up. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. A single honest sitting of Santitas can eat up a third of that limit before dinner even starts. Open the bag. That faint, stale smell isn't fresh corn. It's commodity crop processed months ago and preserved just long enough to justify that basement price tag. You're not saving money with Santitas. You're borrowing it from your kidneys. Cheap chips. Expensive consequences. If the budget brands are this bad, at least the restaurant-style brands with premium branding deliver better ingredients, right? Not even close. Number 8. On the Border Cafe Style. The name alone promises something special. A cantina experience. Restaurant quality at home. That Tex-Mex credibility from a brand built on the reputation of a sit-down dining chain. You'd expect premium ingredients to match that premium image. You'd be wrong. On the Border, chips contain alarmingly high sodium and are fried in a blend of oils that includes palm oil. Palm oil is packed with saturated fat. Study after study has linked regular palm oil consumption to significant increases in LDL cholesterol, the dangerous kind that builds up inside your artery walls and restricts blood flow over time. One serving doesn't look terrible on the nutrition label, but nobody eats one serving of a chip specifically designed to scoop queso and guacamole. Double or triple that serving and you're looking at a saturated fat bomb that can spike your cholesterol numbers in a single afternoon of snacking. For anyone already on ACE inhibitors or cholesterol medication, or people who switched to these chips thinking the restaurant name on the bag meant higher quality standards, the palm oil and sodium combination quietly undermines the drugs your doctor prescribed. Your medication pulls your numbers down. These chips push them right back up. Every handful fights your prescription. The label says cafe style. The ingredient list says gas station. Hold a chip up to the light. See that greasy sheen coating the surface? That's palm oil sitting on your food. The cheapest tropical fat money can buy, wrapped in restaurant branding and sold at a premium. Restaurant name, factory reality. That shiny restaurant branding fooled a lot of people. It just hides behind decades of quiet familiarity. Number 7. Calidad tortilla chips. The plain yellow bag that's been sitting on American grocery shelves for as long as most people can remember. No flashy branding, no health claims, no promises whatsoever, just a chip. And somehow, that stripped-down simplicity makes people trust it. But simple packaging doesn't mean simple ingredients. Calidad chips are fried in hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils, depending on the production batch. That word, hydrogenated, should stop you cold. Partially hydrogenated oils are the primary industrial source of artificial trans fats in the food supply. The FDA spent years working to eliminate them from American food because the science was undeniable and devastating. Trans fats raise your LDL cholesterol while simultaneously lowering your HDL cholesterol. They don't just add a single risk factor. They attack your cardiovascular system from both directions at once. For anyone with a family history of atherosclerosis or people who've eaten Calidad casually for years without ever flipping the bag to check the ingredients, even small residual amounts of trans fat accumulate in your system over time. Your body doesn't flush them out quickly. They embed themselves in cell membranes. They stiffen arterial walls. They compound silently, and the sodium per serving is notably high for such a supposedly basic, no-frills product. Open the bag, smell that flat, slightly chemical note underneath the corn. That isn't freshness you're detecting. That's hydrogenated oil doing what hydrogenated oil does. A product the government actively tried to remove from the food supply, still sitting quietly in your pantry because nobody told you to check the yellow bag. Plain packaging, poisonous fats. See the pattern forming? Budget brands hide behind price. Simple brands hide behind nostalgia. So what happens when a brand hides behind the boldest flavors in America? Let's find out. Number 6. Doritos Nacho Cheese and Cool Ranch. America's most iconic flavored tortilla chip. The flavor so bold it became a cultural landmark. Doritos doesn't just sell chips. It sells an identity. And behind that identity is one of the longest ingredient lists in the entire snack aisle. MSG, monosodium glutamate, yellow number 6, red 40, maltodextrin. Multiple forms of sodium stacked on top of each other, so the true salt content per serving goes far beyond what the label suggests when you eat real-world portions. Nobody eats 11 chips and puts the bag away. A realistic sitting is 3 to 4 servings. That's a sodium avalanche. And MSG doesn't just add flavor. For anyone prone to migraines or managing blood pressure, or families handing these to kids at every soccer practice and birthday party, MSG can trigger headaches and blood pressure spikes that feel like they came out of nowhere. Then there are the artificial dyes. Yellow 6 and Red 40 have been scrutinized by the FDA for years. The European Union requires warning labels on foods containing these dyes. America doesn't. These synthetic colors may interact unpredictably with common medications. Crunch into a Dorito, that explosion of flavor, that dust coating your fingers, that orange residue that stains everything it touches. That's not food. That's chemical engineering designed to override your brain's satiety signals and keep you eating long after you should have stopped. Bold flavor, bolder ingredient list. If you're feeling unsettled by everything we've exposed so far, hit subscribe. It's free, and it means you'll never miss these investigations. Now, a lot of people hear all of this and think, fine, I'll switch to organic. Surely organic means clean. Let's see about that. This next one might surprise you. Number 5. Late July Organic Sea Salt. The clean label darling. The chip that wellness influencers recommend. The one health-conscious shoppers reach for because organic feels like a guarantee. Late July positioned itself as everything mainstream chips aren't. Simple ingredients. Organic corn. A name that sounds like a summer afternoon. You pay more because you believe you're getting more. Here's what you're actually getting. The corn is organic. That part is true. But the chips are fried in sunflower or safflower oil, both of which are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids. The same inflammatory oils we've been talking about in every budget brand on this list. Organic oil doesn't mean anti-inflammatory oil. It means the same inflammatory fat was grown without synthetic pesticides before being heated to high temperatures and used to fry your so-called clean chips. And the sodium content, comparable to conventional brands, nearly identical to the Tostitos and Missions of the world. You're paying $1 or $2 more per bag for a different label on the same nutritional profile. For anyone who switched to Late July believing it would protect their heart, or people spending extra on organic because their doctor told them to clean up their diet, those omega-6 oils are fueling the same inflammatory cascade that drives cardiovascular disease and insulin resistance. The organic sticker didn't change the chemistry, it just changed the price. Taste one. It's fine. It tastes like a tortilla chip. Nothing special, nothing transformative, just corn and oil and salt with a premium price tag. You paid more for a promise. The promise was hollow. Organic failed here. What about the brands that use specialty ingredients to stand apart? The next one wraps itself in earthy branding and blue corn, and it has its own set of problems. Number 4. Garden of Eatin blue chips. The earthy packaging. The blue corn that signals natural, artisanal, different from everything else on the shelf. Garden of Eatin looks like it belongs in a health food store, not a controversy. But looks are exactly what this brand sells. The chips are cooked in expeller-pressed canola or safflower oil. Expeller-pressed sounds cleaner than chemically extracted, and it is, slightly. But the oil itself is still high in omega-6 fatty acids. The pressing method doesn't change the fat profile. It just gives marketing departments a better word to print on the bag. Now here's where Garden of Eatin gets deceptive. Independent testing has shown that the listed serving size is unrealistically small. The number of chips per serving and the weight per serving don't match how anyone actually eats these. Most people consume double or triple the stated serving without realizing it. That means the sodium and fat numbers you see on the nutrition label are half or a third of what you're actually putting into your body. For anyone monitoring sodium for congestive heart failure or kidney function, or people tracking macros because their doctor flagged high blood pressure, the misleading portions can result in consuming 3 times the listed salt without ever knowing it. Your food journal says you're on track. Your blood work says otherwise. Pick up the bag. Weigh out one actual serving. It's laughably small. Nobody eats that amount. The brand knows it. They printed the label anyway. Blue corn, green packaging, hidden numbers. If specialty ingredients and natural branding can't be trusted, surely the premium brands found in health food stores are different. The next one charges premium prices and sits on specialty shelves, and it has a dirty secret. Number 3. Zochiddle tortilla chips. The name most people can't pronounce. The thin, crispy chip found in specialty stores and Whole Foods aisles. Zochiddle markets itself as restaurant quality. Premium, simple ingredients. The kind of chip food bloggers photograph next to artisanal guacamole. The price reflects the image. The ingredients don't. Zochiddle chips are fried in cottonseed oil. Cottonseed oil sounds harmless until you learn what cotton actually is. Cotton is not classified as a food crop. It's classified as an industrial crop. That distinction matters enormously because industrial crops are not subject to the same pesticide regulations as food crops. Cotton is one of the most heavily sprayed commodity crops in the United States. The pesticides used on cotton fields are more aggressive, more toxic, and more persistent than what's allowed on crops grown for human consumption. And then that cotton is pressed into oil and fried into your premium tortilla chip. Cottonseed oil also carries high levels of saturated fat. Combined with the pesticide exposure, it creates a product that looks clean and costs like quality but delivers neither. For anyone with compromised liver or kidney function, or people who shop at specialty stores specifically to avoid the chemical load of conventional products, the body's ability to process those residues diminishes with age. The toxins don't metabolize as fast. They accumulate. They compound. Hold a Zochiddle chip up to light, paper thin, almost translucent. That delicate crunch feels artisanal, but delicate doesn't mean clean. Premium pricing, industrial pesticide oil. The specialty stores let you down. The cult favorite brands must be better, right? The next one has a devoted following that swears by every chip. Number 2. Juanita's Tortilla Chips. The cult classic of the Pacific Northwest. The chip with a following so loyal that fans have driven hours to find it. Thick, crunchy, old-fashioned, Juanita's feels like the real deal. The chip your grandmother would have made if she ran a factory. Except your grandmother wouldn't have fried her chips in palm oil. And she definitely wouldn't have let the labeling slide. Juanita's has faced past scrutiny over inconsistent labeling of fat content between production runs. That means the nutrition facts printed on the bag you bought last month might not match the bag you buy next week. The numbers change. The label doesn't always keep up. For anyone tracking fat intake because their doctor told them to, or people managing type 2 diabetes where every gram of saturated fat and every spike in blood sugar matters, inconsistent labeling isn't a minor oversight. It's a broken promise. You're making dietary decisions based on numbers that may not reflect what's actually inside. The chips contain significant sodium and are fried in palm oil or blended vegetable oils. The combination of high glycemic refined corn and saturated fat can cause post-meal blood sugar and triglyceride spikes. For anyone managing metabolic syndrome, that 1-2 punch of blood sugar and triglycerides after a single sitting can undo hours of careful eating. Bite into a Juanita's chip. That thick, heavy crunch. That dense, oily mouthfeel that lingers on your tongue. That's palm oil and cornstarch doing the heavy lifting. Not quality, not tradition, commodity fats dressed up in nostalgia, loyal fan base, disloyal ingredients. That's 10 brands down. 10 brands you've probably bought this year. But the number one spot goes to a brand whose ingredients carry risks so serious, the FDA has actively worked to remove them from the American food supply entirely. Number 1. El Milagro Tortilla Chips. The brand beloved in Latino communities, the family-owned company that built its reputation on authenticity and tradition. El Milagro isn't just a chip brand. For millions of Americans, it's a piece of cultural identity, a taste of home. That trust makes what comes next even harder to say. Certain El Milagro product lines are fried in partially hydrogenated soybean oil. Partially hydrogenated oil is the single most direct source of artificial trans fats in the food supply. These aren't naturally occurring fats. These are industrially manufactured fats created by pumping hydrogen gas into liquid vegetable oil under pressure until it solidifies. The FDA determined that partially hydrogenated oils are not generally recognized as safe. That's the agency's way of saying this ingredient is dangerous and needs to be removed. The process to eliminate artificial trans fats from American food has been underway for years, and yet certain product lines from certain brands still contain them. Trans fats don't just raise LDL cholesterol, they actively lower HDL, the protective cholesterol your body needs. They promote arterial plaque buildup. They increase the risk of heart attack. And for anyone on blood-thinning medications like warfarin, or people with existing heart disease or a history of stroke, consuming residual trans fats directly raises the risk of dangerous interactions and cardiovascular events. The FDA moved to ban this. The chips are still on shelves. Open a bag of El Milagro. That rich, deep corn aroma. That golden color. Everything about it says tradition. Everything about the oil says industrial chemistry. A family brand. An industrial fat. Trust built over generations. Betrayed in every batch. What's the worst tortilla chip you've ever bought? Drop it in the comments. Let's see how many of us have been eating these without knowing what's inside. 11 brands. 11 broken promises. From hydrogenated oils the FDA tried to ban to inflammatory seed oils, hiding behind organic labels. But don't give up on tortilla chips entirely. Two brands prove it's still possible to snack clean. Siete grain-free tortilla chips. Finally, a chip that doesn't start with the same cheap refined corn as everyone else. Siete uses a cassava and coconut flour base, completely grain-free, and fries everything in avocado oil. Not sunflower, not safflower, not canola, not cottonseed. Avocado oil. The difference matters enormously. Avocado oil is rich in monounsaturated fats, the same heart-healthy fats found in olive oil. It has a high smoke point, which means it stays stable during frying instead of breaking down into harmful compounds the way seed oils do. The ingredient list on a bag of Siete is short enough to read in 5 seconds. Cassava flour, avocado oil, coconut flour, ground chia seeds, salt. That's it. No preservatives, no artificial additives, no GMO ingredients, no inflammatory omega-6 bomb hiding behind a health claim. For anyone watching their blood sugar or families trying to reduce inflammation across their diet, the grain-free base is gentler on glucose response than refined corn. The avocado oil supports cholesterol balance instead of undermining it. Open the bag. Notice how the chips aren't dripping with grease. Bite into one. The crunch is lighter, cleaner. The flavor tastes like actual food, not a chemical engineering project. Your fingers aren't coated in oil residue afterward. That's what happens when a brand uses real ingredients instead of the cheapest fat available. Siete costs more than Mission, a few dollars more per bag. You're not paying for a logo. You're paying for chips that won't fight your body every time you eat them. Jackson's Sweet Potato Tortilla Chips, one of the only national brands in America that fries exclusively in coconut oil or avocado oil. No seed oils whatsoever. Not as a secondary ingredient, not as a blend. 0. Jackson's uses sweet potato or purple corn as the base, ingredients that carry actual nutritional value, instead of the empty refined corn that dominates every other brand on this list. The brand holds non-GMO project verification, and independent nutritional analyses confirm lower sodium per serving and a dramatically cleaner fat profile than conventional chips. Coconut oil and avocado oil are both stable cooking fats. They don't oxidize and break down into harmful compounds under heat the way sunflower, safflower, and canola oils do. That stability means fewer free radicals in your food and less oxidative stress on your body with every handful. For anyone concerned about heart health and blood sugar stability, or families looking for a snack that won't contribute to the inflammatory cascade driving chronic disease, the combination of nutrient-dense sweet potato and stable cooking fats is about as clean as a tortilla chip gets. Taste 1. The sweetness is subtle, natural, nothing artificial. The texture is sturdy enough to scoop without shattering. And your hands come away clean because the oil doesn't leave that greasy film that seed oil chips always do. Jackson's proves that better ingredients don't require sacrificing flavor or function. It costs a few dollars more than the bags we just exposed. A few dollars for chips that actually respect your body. 11 brands, 11 lies, one pantry that needs clearing out. Subscribe now, and if you're watching on TV, tap your remote so you never get blindsided again.